What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again, once more, as usual, in this fine day that we're having, right? So, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you, or rather, share my opinion on. So, before we get to those slides, I want to issue a copyright disclaimer for all the copywritten material that's going to be viewed in this here post. Right? So, it's mainly going to be updates, right, pertaining to certain particulars, right? Yeah, for UNGA, when you have protection, right? Netanyahu is a very slick man, you know. Wow. I mean, somebody should, I don't know, blow a whistle or something, you know? I didn't know that the Israelis and Turkish people have a standoff. About what? For what? That's the question I have. Yeah, the Japanese have been showing up and showing out, but unfortunately, it's mostly the elder generation, right? Because the younger generation, I don't know what is happening. Yeah, it's a crazy life in the jungle, like they say. But yeah, this is real, right? And it points to a lot of fakery and even some cases of over-evaluation, no? Like, I'm talking about the extreme levels of over-evaluation, right? It erupts. That would imply it was calm, and that would be a lie, straight up. Putin's air defense, they are gonna focus on, we are gonna circle back to this. Okay, so apparently this person Putin has air defenses, and they're not doing great right now. Well, I don't know. At one point, I think the Europeans are to have a greater conversation about racism, right? Yeah, the world, or rather their world, is about to burn, right? And just like a house next door catching fire, the neighbors are concerned and we are concerned that your disease called racism, under various theorems such as eugenics and stuff, right? Or sometimes under the banner of Christianity, or sometimes it might be the right to enslave black peoples that you gave yourself this mandate, right? While doing this at the same time, my advice, don't do it. The only way for you to get melanin is for you to have babies with black people. Stop doing this nonsense. You cannot have everything. Right? And this pursuit here is gonna backfire spectacularly, right? I have seen all type of weird stuff you do so as to acquire melanin. So what is it? That you know the secret that melanin is cool and it's not a curse like the Catholics believe at one point? Or what is it? It seems like you know more than you're letting on. Okay? So this melanin here is not staying in your body. It's gonna end up in your urine. That is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it accumulates where it is not supposed to accumulate and causes severe organ failure. And we don't want that for you. Okay? So, Venezuela came out swinging, and they are not just calling for the review or correction of the errors of the ICC, but rather dismantling the whole situation. Of course, they have been quiet about Maduro and all of this and that, but hey, when have they been loud pertaining to the issues of the global south? Again, people acting brand new. Okay? People acting brand new. Right? It is well known, right? It is almost a meme at this point, right? That this court exists only to persecute black people. So, let me ask you a question, and it's a trick question, right? I have heard people describe African spiritualism using two objects, right? Animals and trees, right? Animals and trees, right? That is not true, but hey, this is what these scholars are teaching each other, right? And that's what I intend to break down and have a conversation about, right? So, going back to the trick question, right? These two words, right? Animalists and trees. And again, it all comes down to people not really. It's not their story. It's not their narrative. They don't relate to it, right? They don't relate to it, right? After every great step the Israelites took, they always elected stone pillars, and that tradition carried on, right? They always do it. You can read by the book yourself. Okay, now circling back to the bigger question. Would we consider the Israelites to be, in most peculiar manners, be considered animalists, right? That their whole ritual system revolves around animals in a literal sense and in a practice sense. So again, this is, the other day I just saw a video of these young Jewish men in a forest, and they were burning this deer. I don't know why. Maybe some sort of ritual. But yeah, that is done and over with. It's a whole other narrative. But again, I would like to hear the answer to my question. So, first and foremost, the handkerchiefs are too new. Second of all, they are tied up wrong. And third one, the South Africans, the melanated people over there, they are not in a position to carry out isolation maneuvers and stuff, right? Where are they gonna get jobs? Like these, I don't know who they are preparing this for, but hey. So, talking about Putin's defense, the Wall Street Journal, all right, these people write for stupid people, okay? They write for stupid people, right? Well, they want you, right, the masses, to believe that 90% of the Russians' drones are being intercepted by Ukraine. Well, that is the narrative, right? To make you believe that just after this sanction package, just after this weapon delivery, just after this, the Russians will crumble, right? Maybe attacks on Africa, maybe the Africans will crumble. But I just want people to remember this moment vividly. Right? This type of posturing, they're literally demanding more escalation, denying the reality on the ground in broad daylight. It doesn't even take much for you to figure it out. Right? But this is the Ukrainian. And this is the propaganda machine, right? At this point, they're just making it obvious to us, at least, how utterly stupid they are. Right? And they're careless and reckless. They don't really care about the Ukrainians. Right? It's like that Monty Python skit, right, with the knight. You remember that? Yeah. His hand was chopped off. I can still fight. Another hand was chopped off. I can still kick you. The one leg was chopped off. I can still hop on you like a kangaroo. The other leg was chopped off. I'm gonna use my teeth this time. Yeah, that's where we are right now. So it's gotta be remembered, right? The role of the media in the murder of millions. And I don't know what is gonna become of them, the so-called media. Yeah, at this particular point, the pen is mightier than the sword, huh? Alright, because they're not really. Like the question is, like, who are they writing this for? Like, really? Who would believe that 90%? At the same time, these same people are running stories about them running out of interceptors and but hey, this has already happened, right? As you can see, not many people have viewed the content. So, for all of you, I don't know, pathologists, right? Is that the study of these diseases, right? They're staying right there saying that they are struggling to contain the country's 17th outbreak of this infection. So what is so special about this region? Only this region. Why? Right? There are only few options I can see for this to ever happen. Right? That they did not really deal with any of the outbreaks. They just didn't report that the disease continued. Right? Because what then? Right? What causes? Don't tell me global warming. Right? And don't tell me global warming and expect me to buy that. This is highly suspicious, right? And historically, does this pattern here show itself somewhere else? That 17 outbreaks within a single country within a short period of time. Okay, and I'm gonna repeat it again. Whatever is happening in Congo over there is really, really suspicious. Multiculturalism has failed. That's a strong opinion. So you're telling me one single incident has killed multiculturalism? Well, I think it didn't exist in the first place. Right? What is this talk about multiculturalism? You're angry about the Muslims, and why? Because they don't conform, right? Or what's the polite word they use? They don't assimilate, right? And when they do, it's a problem. What's the difference between this and the school shooting, for instance? Why don't we all see outrage like this when school shootings happens? Especially them school shootings that involved white European kids. gay or straight. This selective outrage is going to be the death of you. And what's behind it? Racism. Right? Racism. This is just their time to vent. So, news coming out of Sudan. Again, it's hypocrisy. But what's behind it? Racism, right? A Chinese man cannot be on top of a European. We civilize them. So they rather paint a certain narrative in the media, right? Because in real life they are doing the actual opposite, brothers and sisters, right? Do not believe the hype. Okay, do not believe the hype. They are doing the complete opposite in real life. But in the media, in the narrative, they're as hostile as it gets, right? That's why air conditioning purchases from China have become such a issue. Right? They're too proud to want help or assistance from anyone. Right? And now we want to find out. Right? We want to find out how quote unquote self-sufficient are they? Right? This is ridiculous, brothers and sisters. This is ridiculous, right? This also is ridiculous the same way. Always imposing. Why? Because they I don't know, in some way or the other find themselves in a superior position of opinion, right? Not of reality, but of opinion. And they would prefer everybody to have their preferences and behave like them, so as the world could be equitable to them, not to all of us, because none of this will be happening. Right? They want you to assimilate so as you can be equitable to them. They want the whole world to orient itself towards their needs, right? To cater to their needs. As if we do not have problems. So, apparently, from a leaked test to cockroaches to a minister resigning, now they want to bring down the whole government. Are they launching a proxy situation over there? We shall find out sooner or later, won't we? Right? They usually start out innocent. But all of this noise, there isn't any solution that they all agree on. And if that's the case, then why are they on the road? Right? Yes, you're frustrated, yes, but the reality still remains. The so-called test leaked. So how does one correct that ordeal? And since the test is a big deal, giving your reaction What are they to do? What I'm trying to do is just point out the inconsistencies, but I am patient. So, the Ukrainian regime has been trying to insert its penis in the Middle East, no pun intended, right? Offering their drone expertise, right, to the terrorists in the Sahel, to the terrorists in the Middle East, as if their terroristic activity in the Far East goes unnoticed. Again, they call it politics. Well, I must be really terrible at it, right? Because if a nigga came to my office talking about, I got these here poisons you can give to your people, it would make them stupid and dumb, I would put them down right there. What type of warrior do you think I am? To want my enemy weak and at a disadvantage, so as I can prove what? I'm a better warrior, or I'm a coward against adversary? Since they wanna stand 10-toe down, right? This act has a price, and people think that they have seen war on the past 4 years. No. This is your revenue stream, okay? So yeah, now it's up in flames, and it's gonna continue, right? Because that's the reality of war. You hit somebody, you finna get hit. But that reality seems to not click with some individuals. But that should be enough deterrence for you to even engage or start war of any kind with anybody. But nah, right? They wanna store hands and try to prove, right, that they are, about their life. Well, quite an interesting portrait. And people should really get into the world of symbolism. Crucial for those who know about the existence of this overlaid reality over ours. Everything would make sense easier, right? If you see an individual with a posing like that, right, hiding one of their hands under their garment, specifically that pose, right, with the elbow making that specific angle right there, then you must know, right? And this pose is quite familiar for many of you, right? You have seen it in many places in history books, especially in history books, because those times they didn't have really the apparatus to put on their symbolism as today, right? It was mainly limited to photography, right? So before the introduction of videography, right, I have seen priests, right, I'm talking religious organizations, politicians, actors. And what does this hand gesture here mean, right? Because this is a painting, right? And don't tell me this was somewhat intentional. No, 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 no. This is not a snap photograph. This is a painting. They intentionally drew him like this. Well, Masons, free Masons, right? On the outside, they might tell you, oh, we believe in Christ, we believe in da da da, regardless of who you see, right? Some of them peoples might be your favorite people, but if you see them doing this pose here, well, just so you know, them is not your people, okay? Them is not your people, and one or the other, they are screwing you. That's what. So, quite a reading, quite a reading, and it's funny, right, that even since then and up to now, the behavior of the so-called European man has remained consistent, right? Even our forefathers who wrote these texts, it's like they are talking about people who live today, like seriously. Right? Well, I have a couple outtakes, right? I call them outtakes. It's a quote from the book, right? By somebody, J.J. Rousseau or something. And he made a statement, said, when a man starts to think, he stops to feel. Right? That these two forces are contrary. Yes, they are at their extreme. Right? At their extreme, intelligence is against emotion. And at the extreme of emotion, emotions are against intelligence. So what are we to do as men? Right? We are to walk in the middle, right? And that's really hard. And it's not a perspective of what the middle is to each one of us. No. Right? This is what we call the humanity. Right? People overthink really simple things. They overthink, and in turn they tend to lose their humanity, because they have this stone cold approach towards the resolution of their problems, right? Without really empathy, right? Understanding the position of the other side, right? And evaluating what type of arrangement can be reached. But as long as the behavior from this book, which just mimics and portrays modern behavior, then we are in for a lot of trouble, brothers and sisters, okay? We are in for a lot of trouble. Let's just say that. So anyway, this is the last slide. So I'm gonna put a pin on it right there, and we're gonna hear from each other when we hear from each other. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.